All the instruments that are going to be calibrated, including the reference instrument, must be stored in a room temperature controlled for at least 1 hour. The defined room temperature is between 22.0 degrees and 24 degrees Celsius. When we connect the instrument to the power, we use Y-splitted power cords as shown. This is done so that we don't have to repower the instrument when we connect them to the program inside the black box. Once the instrument has been connected to the power, we leave all the instrument powered on for at least 30 minutes before they are calibrated. We start the calibration by calibrating the reference instrument. It is important to remember that the 30-minute rule does not apply for the reference instrument. The reference instrument must be calibrated immediately after the self-test is completed. Place the reference instrument on a plate that contains holes for the instrument feet. Connect the network and the power cable to the instrument and wait for the self-test to be completed. Open the SpectraScan chart program. It is possible to switch between Afinion 1 and Afinion 2 as shown. Enter operator ID and so on into the GUI. The spectral cartridge are stored in a special case when it's not in use. The case is labeled with the lot number on the cartridge, asset number, when it was last calibrated and when it's time for a new calibration, and also who is responsible for it. This is how the spectral cartridge looks like. Before you start calibration, you should inspect the mirror. If it is dirty, you must clean it, as described in the procedure. But you have to be careful so that you don't damage the mirror. Enter the room temperature in the GUI. You are now ready to start the calibration immediately after the self-test is completed on the reference instrument. Put the cartridge into the docking cavity of the instrument and start the calibration. Follow the instruction in the program. Now it's time to focus the dot into the center of the circle as shown. Close the lid and start the calibration of LED 0, 1 and 2. Change the position of the SpectraScans and measure LED 3, 4 and 5. Focus the dot into the center of the rectangle. Close the lid and continue the calibration. When the calibration of the reference instrument is completed and the measurements are within specifications, we can start calibrating the instruments. Disconnect and remove the reference instrument. This is how to remove the lid from the Afinion instrument. Place the Afinion 2 on the plate with the holes for the feet, the same way as it did with the reference instrument. Connect the network cable, connect the available leg on the Y power cord to the power cable inside the black box. Remove the outside power cord from the other leg. Enter the spectral cartridge into the docking cavity and start the calibration. Focus the dots in the same way as you did with the reference instruments. Change the position of the spectroscan to measure lead 3, 4 and 5. Focus the dot onto the center of the rectangle the same way as you did with the reference instrument. Close the lid, continue the calibration. Once the calibration is completed, remove the spectral cartridge, turn off the instrument and disconnect the instrument from the black box. Put the lid back on as shown. Now the calibrated instrument is ready for release control.